This month's podcasts are sponsored by Aubergine Legal. Do you sometimes worry that your business isn't meeting all its legal compliance requirements and wonder if you're ticking all the legal boxes? Are you losing sleep worrying about a piece of legislation that you may or may not be complying with? Perhaps you need some help with your client contracts or your data protection compliance. Or maybe you're worried that your website doesn't have the right documents or legal notices in the right place. Perhaps you have a brand that you want to protect with a trademark. How about if you could outsource it all and eliminate all of your worries? If so, then get in touch with Aubergine Legal, a friendly commercial legal consultancy offering practical and clear commercial legal advice without the overwhelming legal jargon, taking the worry away and helping you to protect your business and minimise your risks. Aubergine offers a free 30-minute consultation if you have any questions or want to find out if they can help, and you can access this link and book your free 30-minute call via the link in the show notes.
Welcome to the Bring Your Product Ideas to Life podcast. Practical advice and inspiration to help you create and sell your own physical products. Here's your host, Vicky Weinberg.
Hi, today I have a fantastic interview for you with Emma Sims. Emma is an energy healer, a crystal therapist and an intuitive guide who is the founder of the Soulstar Sanctuary, a Reiki practice in Tunbridge Wells. Emma works with adults and children, helping to transform their lives through energy work. Emma has been running workshops and treatments in the corporate sector too, and has a beautiful range of products called mood sprays that help to enhance the healing and your mood. Emma also teaches Reiki and runs a variety of wellbeing workshops, weaving essential oils into all that she does. So I really enjoyed the conversation with Emma. She spoke a lot about her products and the benefits of her products, and about, essential oils in general, a subject I know very little about, which I found absolutely fascinating. And a key theme that comes through from Emma's story really is how much she has experimented and tested and just been a person who just goes ahead and does things and then just sees how it works, and if it does, fantastic, and if not, she just sort of continually tweaks as she goes. I personally found that really interesting, really inspiring, and I really hope that you do too. She's definitely an advocate of just jumping in and having a go, and I love that really comes across in her story, and I really enjoyed it. It was like a really lovely conversation, and I hope that you enjoy it and are as inspired as I was. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Emma. So hi Emma, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Vicky. Great to be here.
No problem. So can we please start by giving an introduction to yourself, your business, and the products and services that you offer? Because I know that you do both currently.
Yes, yeah. So I'm an energy healer, a crystal therapist, and I'm also an intuitive guide. And I have a sanctuary called the Soulstar Sanctuary here in Tunbridge Wells. So it's a practice, it's a Reiki practice really for children and adults. So they come here and they have a beautiful treatment, whether they're suffering from anxiety or stress or just really in need of having a sort of energetic recharge. It's just a beautiful space that I hold for people to come and enjoy that experience. And recently, probably a couple of years ago, that's when I started to actually do my products as well. But just as an add-on really to the healing service that I was given to people, and it just seemed to really work. So I've kind of expanded from there.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for that introduction. And I didn't realise how close you were to me. I might have to come and visit you at some point, Emma, because you're so close. I'd love to. So let's talk a little bit about your products. Can you just tell us what they are and sort of the inspiration and the story behind creating them?
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is I've always sort of had this dream in my mind that I wanted to have my own brand, my own product, but I didn't quite know how that would ever come about. You always have these ideas rolling around in your mind. So when I started up my sanctuary and had people coming in, I used to use the essential oils as part of my healing treatments. And then I bought this like a protection spray it was, and it smelled amazing, but it just had like frankincense and rose oil in. And the more that I started to research the oils, the more I started to realise that the amount of healing properties that they have in the actual oil, because, we're all from the earth and we're combining the earth energy in the healing treatment as well. So the oils really started to accompany the healing and really enhance, the healing treatment as well. And then it was a few years ago, I had a really bad reaction to an organic shampoo that I used, and it really burnt my skin, so I couldn't use anything. So I was trying to search for sort of products that I could find that were totally organic and were really good on my skin. I couldn't find anything because everything had all these add-ons. So I went to see this lady and she made up this spray for me, which literally had chamomile oil in and sort of like a witch hazel. And that was all. And sort of like, I think it must have been like distilled water. And I sprayed it on my skin and it immediately felt calm. And it sparked the idea. And I thought, wow, I wonder if I could start making some sprays myself to do different things. So, for example, one of the blends that I have is Energy Shift. So if you use that in the morning after a shower, the oils that I've used in it really do help lift your energy because they're all citrus. So they get into the brain, they get into your cells, and they really do help create that energy shift that we all need in the morning. And a lot of the work that I do, I love positive affirmations. I love using quotes and I love reading things that just really make you feel good. So I thought maybe I could combine everything and put on the bottle like a quote that really helps people have that positive mindset for the day as well. So say, for example, with the Breathe that I've got, it has a quote on it saying, as we walk, imprint our gratitude and our love to the earth. So when you read that, you immediately feel really good, and then you spray it and it just helps bring the clarity. So I have ones that are called intuition. So that's really for tuning in and opening up your senses to become more intuitive. One that's called Breathe that really helps with the clarity. So if you're feeling quite stressed in your work, or you're feeling that sometimes you get that foggy headedness that we all can get during the day, the Breathe really takes it to the next level. It really does clear your mind. So that's when the thought came in that maybe I could do a different mood spray for each part of the day, so that, and it takes you right up to when you go to bed. So there's a sleep mist as well.
Oh, well, that's fascinating, Emma. Thank you for sharing how that all started. What I would love to know is sort of practically, how did you actually develop this from an idea into sprays? It sounds like you did lots of research on different oils and different properties. Yeah, how did you actually know how to create something? That sounds very scientific.
Yeah, so I did lots of readings because I'm not an aromatherapist, but I really, really researched them. And I saw that, there was different spray bottles that you could get. So it was trial and error, to be honest, Vicky. I bought lots of different types of spray bottles and I tried them out because some of the pump heads weren't that good. And then I tried the brown, because obviously with the brown bottle, you have to be careful with the sunlight with oils because they can actually start breaking down if you leave the oils actually in sunlight. So it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation. The labels were the hardest thing. You'd think that, well, it should be easy. But when I actually went out to lots of different companies and I created the design myself because I wanted to keep everything at very low cost. So I went out to lots of different companies and I asked for samples of their labels. And to start with, I was just printing my labels onto, the standard address labels.
Yes.
And sticking those onto the bottles. Again, just to keep everything, to a minimal cost. And they worked, but then I didn't realise that actually when you sprayed the oil, some of the oil residue would leak down and then it would bleed onto the actual address label and the ink would run. So there was things like that, again, it's only through trial and error and understanding how the product works, experimenting with the bottles, experimenting with the labels. I printed a lot of it myself to begin with. And then I found this company, it's actually Moo who I use, which I think their quality of printing is fabulous because they do coat it slightly, but again, it's quite ethical how they print, and I like their company values as well. But the quality of the labels, like the colours, are really good. And again, so I experimented with lots of different bottles, and I found a company that used recycled glass because I wanted to try and bring that sort of eco-sustainability into my company so that everything is of a good standard, but it's also sustainable, because what do you do once you've used that bottle? Where does it go? So the company that I use, they recycle the glass, not just mine, but obviously everybody's. And then I buy those bottles from them. So, a lot of it has been trial and error, to be honest with you.
Thank you. And I think trial and error is a good way of doing things, because I think it can be really easy to think. We were talking a little bit before we started
Mm,
recording, weren't we, about how you can sort of think that everything has to be perfect. You have to have everything lined up. But
yeah,
actually, unless you try, you really don't know.
yeah.
So I think that's a really good approach. And did you take a similar one with the actual is formulation the right word? I'm not really sure, Emma. Formulation inside the bottles. So how did you know how to get those right? Because I'm assuming that now, a couple of years on, well, I know this is an assumption, you tell me if I'm wrong, you sort of
Yeah,
have a set method or formula for
yeah, I
how
do.
you, but how did you get to that? Again, was it trial and error?
Yeah. So it was really trying out different scents. So I'd really research, say, like for the sleep mist, for example, cedarwood, I didn't realise was a natural sedative. So, but you have to be quite careful when you use that. You can't use too much. But I also wanted to make sure that I was putting a good amount of essential oils into the product, because you know, some that you spray and you smell and then it just evaporates and that the smell doesn't linger. So I wanted to be aware of that and keep that really in my mind, that actually I wanted something that people could spray on themselves, because you can spray it onto your skin, and that it would last and it actually, you know, does the work. So yeah, I researched it. I researched it a lot. So those essential oils, I had to, you know, do 3 drops or 4 drops of one. And again, it was, you know, just experimentation until I got the right scent. And I think it's just down to personal taste, really, that when you smell it, it's that moment of that's it, that's the one. That really works, that combination. So it's knowing that I've researched the oils that I want to put in, making sure that when you smell them, that the blends work together. Could you substitute one for the other? If that doesn't work, does it do the same thing? Because sometimes, you know, you'd read up on these oils and you'd go, oh yeah, okay, that really works then for, you know, enhancing the intuition and the senses. But actually, when you put them together, they don't always, you know, the combination doesn't smell that good. So, you know, it's kind of making sure that you add a little bit more of one and less of the other, and then you get that really perfect combination that just gives you that aha moment of like, that's it, that's the one, that has to be it. So I've just launched a new blend actually called Harmony, and they're in my crystal rollerballs, which I'm selling at the moment, but all the proceeds go to the NSPCC. And that was just me opening up the bottles and just smelling what ones I felt would really give that sense of calm. Again, researching them, seeing which ones do actually make you feel calm. And then I came up with the 4 that I put together, and it smells amazing. It smells so good.
So is that a new product that you've just come out with recently?
Yeah, I ran it back in March for Mother's Day. So they're just beautiful crystal rollerballs, and the crystals enhance the healing properties of the actual essential oils as well. And they sold out in March, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do it again because it's a really lovely gift for Christmas. And then I was just looking. I love the NSPCC. You know, it's really close to my heart what they do. And I thought, I'm just going to sell them, and the money that I make from them, I'm going to give to charity, the NSBCC, because, you know, it's such a great charity, and it's coming up to Christmas. They're beautiful. They're just little rollerballs. They're just beautiful gifts that you can give to people, or just put in a stocking if you want to. But it's just something that, you know, that you can keep, and then if you send it back to me, you can have it refilled as well. Which I need to mention that, because I haven't mentioned that on my Etsy. It's remembering everything, isn't it,
Oh,
Vicky?
of course.
When you oh,
Absolutely. No, it's a lot. And do you know, I when you showed me then, because then people listening obviously can't hear that you've just showed me, I actually realised I actually saw those on Instagram today. It's such a small
oh,
world, Emma. Somebody not on your Instagram, someone else was sharing them.
oh,
And
okay.
I did see them and think, well, they look interesting.
Mm,
So, oh,
mm.
it's a
And I
very
think,
small world.
yeah, and I think also the price point is really, really important, because it's making sure that people can afford it, and it's not the point where they kind of go, I think that's a little bit too much. So I've tried to, with my sprays, like I have the smaller ones that are like 60 ml, for example, they're £10 a bottle. And then you have the slightly big, so that's like handbag size, you know, really easy to take on holiday with you. And then you've got the 100 ml that are bigger, so they're £15. But again, it's it's a good price, I think, because it's affordable for people. And then the rollables, they're like £12.50. So, you know, when you think £10, it's only over just over £10. What can you get for that? You can't really, and that's a beautiful product to give to someone. So it's always trying to appeal to the whole market rather than, you know, single people out and people look at it and go, well, I can't afford that.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's a really good point. And by the way, everything you just showed me, I know it doesn't work as well on a podcast, but of course, if you're listening, we'll have links to Instagram and everywhere else in your websites. People can go and have a look. So I know it doesn't work as well, but everything you showed me looks gorgeous. And I do have a few more questions. So I just noticed the little bottle you showed me was like a lovely blue colour. Is there a reason that well, first of all, is it blue, Emma, or is that my screen?
Yeah,
It is blue. Yeah. Is there a reason for the blue? I'm just being curious now, because you mentioned trying white, clear bottles and brown bottles. Is there a reason you've landed on blue?
I just really like the spa quality of blue. And also blue, when you look at blue, it actually immediately, like it's been scientifically proven that it immediately makes your mind feel calm. So that blue glass bottle was something that I arrived at because for those reasons, and also because it works quite well with the colours in my labels, because I changed the labels as well. So initially I had the brown bottles and they had that print, which is kind of like the green and the white and the black. But because my logo was designed as a beautiful rose, so I wanted to try and use the colours that really complement each other. So I thought the blue would actually work better with the logo. So that's as well why I ended up with the blue bottle. But I do like the brown. I keep going back to the brown. So that's something that I think it needs a different label.
Yeah. And out of interest, Emma, because you've had so many like evolutions of things, and you were saying about, you know, the bottles and whether you choose the blue or the brown, how much input, or have your customers had any input to how things have changed and evolved over the years? Do you get much feedback from people on your products?
Yeah, I do. I mean, when they come into the sanctuary, that's where I really sell most of my products. When they come in here, they have a treatment, and throughout the treatment, I spray my products. So, you know, if I really feel that we're doing a mental clearing exercise, for example, where I'm really clearing out the energy from their mind and everything, I'll use the breathe because it really brings it. And always after the treatment, people will say, wow, I love the smells that you are using, the different oils that you use throughout the treatment. And people have always, you know, they've fed back and they've said that they really love the quotes on the bottle. Because again, that just reinforces the positivity. And it's a bit of something different. You know, normally you have a bottle and you stand it on your shelf and you don't really take that much interest on the label, or, you know, because you just immediately think, oh, it's just going to give me the content. So people like that. But it's probably a good point, actually, because I've never launched a product before, or I've never actually, you know, sold products in that way. I'm still really new to all of this. So it probably would be good actually to get a bit of customer feedback, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it probably would. And I mean, I think the fact that people are sort of smelling them during their treatments and buying them, I mean, that's some feedback in itself, Emma, because it shows that people do like the smell. Yes. Yeah, for some of those, especially now you have people, it sounds like they're buying them, and probably some people that are buying them fairly regularly. Yes. Definitely when you're coming to make decisions about bottles, packaging, or anything really, maybe new fragrances, I definitely think it could be worth asking some of your customers what their thoughts are. Yeah. Because I think from what we've said at the moment, and we can move on to this a little bit, most of your sales, if I'm correct in understanding this, do come from people who come into the sanctuary. Is that right? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And word of mouth. So people would come through Instagram, for example, and say, oh, I heard about your product. So what I've done a lot of as well is I've actually sent my product to people. So I guess you probably think of them like influencers, but they're not influencers. They're people whose work I just love. And for example, there's a really amazing yoga teacher in London, and I love what she does, and I love how she teaches. I really, you know, interested in how her mind is and everything, all of that. And I just knew she'd love one of these products. So I just sent it to her as a gift during lockdown and said, what you've been talking about, I really think that protection would be a great energy spray for you to use. So, you know, so it's good because then we have their endorsement. You know, they post it on their Instagram page. So it all starts that ripple effect, which can actually sometimes be huge, can't it?
Absolutely. I didn't know you did that. And I think that's really interesting. And it sounds like you're doing it for a lovely reason as well, because it sounds, Emma, like you're doing it to be kind. And I think that's really nice. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing it as a marketing strategy, by the way. Nothing wrong with doing that at all. but I do really like the way you're doing it because it just feels really authentic to you.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think with any brand, from where I see it, I think you have to be honest, and you have to use an approach that sits right with yourself. So I think that is one of my I don't know what you'd call it, I can't think of the word now, but I see myself as very kind. I love being kind, and I love making people feel good about themselves. That is my sole belief, that we can do so much to help ourselves, and why shouldn't we, give that back to ourselves, or give gifts to other people, because it's lovely, isn't it, to just be able to give that to someone who's feeling a little bit low at that moment, and give them a little pick me up. So yeah, I've been doing that quite a bit. I've just been sending, like, the 60 ml ones I only recently launched, and that was because I thought actually people might be going a bit better with the £10, the value of it, and also the being able to just pop it into your bag. And that again, I've sent out to a few people, and they've loved it, and they've spread it with their people as well. So hopefully it'll come back.
No, I think it will, because it sounds like it's all coming from a good place and does seem really authentic, because obviously your products are all about helping people to feel better. Your
Yes.
products, your treatments, everything you do is kind of geared towards that, isn't it? It's all about people's well-being. So yeah, it seems completely authentic. And yeah, I do think it will come back, Emma. I think it's lovely that you take the time to do that.
Yeah. I mean, even if it doesn't, at least I think to myself, well, at least that person's got something from it, and then maybe who they've shared it with, again, has got something from it. Because with the oils, and this is something that I didn't realize, the effect that it actually has on your brain, and the effect that it has on your cells. So it takes about 20 seconds to get into your brain, the scent of the oils. And the scent of the oils carry, like almost like a tiny fluid. So when you absorb that into your senses, it's taken into your brain, and there's receptors around each cell. So once it's absorbed by those receptors around the cell, it shifts a bit of the energy, which actually makes you feel, say, for example, if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, the geranium oil, if you inhaled that, would immediately make you feel really calm. So, it really does work. It's amazing.
That's really interesting, because I'll be honest, I don't know much about scent and sort of the impact it has on your brain, but it sounds really fascinating. It's something I might want to read on a little bit, because I do find it genuinely fascinating that just inhaling something can change your brain. I just think that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And like when they had the plague, they used to carry these little, almost sort of like bags of scent, and they used to wave them around, because they thought that, well, it actually did work as well, is that the scent would kind of keep the bacteria down. And that's what it does. It can do that. So they're really, once you start really looking into it, they're so effective.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
So it's just, getting it out there really, and telling more people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I said, we will link everything, to everywhere people can find you in the notes for this. And you mentioned your crystal rollers are fairly new.
Yes.
Is there anything else you have in the pipeline, just out of interest? You don't need to tell me what if you don't want to.
Yeah, no. So what I really want to do in the new year is I want to take this to another level and try and. So what I've done as well is I've actually sold I've sold wholesale to other companies as well. So there's a really lovely lady who runs this sort of eco-able online eco shop, and she does markets as well. So she's taken a lot of my products. So that's great. And again, that's just, getting the brand out there a little bit more. And also, there's another lady who does these beautiful self-care kits. And she's put the organic bottles as well, the mood sprays, into her self-care kits, and she's marketed those. So I kind of want to do more of that, because I love collaborating with people. So I think collaborations are a really good way to get your product more known, and also to just collaborate with like-minded people. I think it's a great thing to do. So I really want to invest probably a bit more money in the branding, and really look at not just the bottle but the labels. I still have in my mind, because I design it all myself and get it printed myself. Could we do something different there? Could we, maybe just change it up a bit? And also with the brown bottles, I'd really like to do something maybe for men, because, they can be used by men. It's not just a female product. So, could it be something that the brown bottles are more masculine? So we could do something more arty. Also, I had another idea where I use a different artist to come up with a label. So each label, say, for example, the breathe is created by someone, the energy shift might be with someone else. Or could we maybe do some boxes with the products in so that they're more personalised as well? So it's more like a gift box. I don't know. There's loads of different ideas, Vicky, that I'm having. So it's just, I have to, when I get to that point intuitively where I go, that's it. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to be, I think, in the new year with it. So invest a bit more time and energy into really getting it out there.
Yeah, that's all sounds really positive and exciting. And I think you're right to think about visually the branding and how the products look, because I'm not going to profess to be a wholesale expert. I've got a whole podcast episode on wholesale for anyone who wants to learn more. We had a fantastic guest. I'm not the expert, but one thing I do know is if you're going to have a product that's going to be on shelves or in a stall, it needs to obviously look visually appealing. And I'm not saying your products don't now at all.
Yes,
That's totally not what I'm saying, but
no,
I think if that's
right.
what you're looking to do, whether you're looking to get them on shelves or collaborating with other creators and getting them in their gift boxes or subscription boxes or whatever, I think having them looking at their very, very best does definitely sound like something to focus on.
So, and I think as well, like when I first started, some of the type was too small, so you couldn't read all the ingredients. That's really key, so that people know that they're 100% organic. Right down to the coconut oil that they're blended with the distilled water, it's organic. The witch hazel's organic. Everything about it is organic. So that's on there, and also the directions of use. It's small print, but it's making sure that everything's seen and everything's on there that you want to be. So, and I just think as well, there's. These products, they smell amazing. I'm not just saying that, but they really do smell really punchy, and they really hold their own energy. So I think if the label is really impactful as well, people might just sort of more, when they look at it, I just want them to be able to interact with it as well. So that's what they do with the quote. They read that quote, and again, it shifts something in them. Oh, that's a really good quote. That makes me feel really good.
Yeah, and I really also, because I do want to touch on this. I really also like your idea about having maybe different artists design labels or boxes or something. I think that's a really fun idea as well, because again, it's like this whole spirit of collaboration, which I know you're really big on from what we've spoken about. But also I think it's probably another way to get in front of a different audience, because presumably an artist who designed a label for you would talk about that and share that. And so I think there's loads of benefits from doing that. I think that's a really, really nice, fun idea.
I think I saw Clark's shoes. They had done a box where you colour it in yourself, and I thought that's quite a good idea. It's just black and white, so low cost, because black and white printing, no colour, brilliant. That's really minimal cost. And I thought that's quite good, because my daughter's made these children's rollerballs, which she doesn't really want to promote that much, but again, they get sold if people come into the sanctuary, because the children really love them. But for children, they're really funky little labels. They're all really creative and bright colours. So maybe something to push more for children as well, because as we evolve into this world of working with our energy, looking at ourselves more, if we can educate our children, that's as well where I think this will really expand, that children can walk along with an energy roll, just put it onto their wrists, rub in the essential oils, breathe it in, and they immediately feel calmer. Because my daughter uses them. She takes them into school and she uses them if she feels a little bit anxious, or she's not feeling that great that day, she'll just put it onto her wrist.
I think it's wonderful that she's done that. It goes to show like the influence we have on children without even sort of realizing it or pushing it, that they it sounds like she's genuinely interested in what you do and is seeing the benefits, and that's wonderful.
They love getting all the oils out and experimenting, and so it's good. It's good at a young age if we can get them doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. That reminds me of being young and having like a perfume making kit, which not, when you could, and which always ended up smelling awful, but it's a similar thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Or getting the rose petals, and like making up your potion in the garden with water. putting all different bits in.
Yeah, it's good fun to experiment. And as you say, it's also good for children to realise that it's okay to need a bit of a, when I say help, I mean that in a maybe, yeah, I don't know if that's the right term, but for
Yes,
children to know that actually it's okay to need a bit of a boost or
that's
need
right.
something to calm you down, and
Yeah,
to use something, because we sometimes we have to teach our children strategies, don't we, to maybe
definitely.
calm down or moderate their energy or whatever it might be. So I think it's good for children to know that actually it's perfectly acceptable to have
Yes.
like a little aid for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, it's something that almost feels like perfume, so they're just rolling it onto their skin and breathing it in. And it's, just like the novelty idea of it. Children are naturally curious, aren't they? So they love anything that they can pick up and smell and.
Yeah, but I do think, agree, it's good. I think it is good to model that.
Mm.
I'm keeping an eye on the time, Emma, because I know that you've got appointments and clients to see
Yeah,
today.
thank you, Vicky.
So let's talk a little bit about how your products and services work together, because I know you mentioned that a lot of your sales currently come from people who come into the sanctuary. So would you say that's the biggest way that you're selling your products at the moment?
Yeah, at the moment, because, I haven't really, Etsy is a minefield. Anything that's technical for me, I always have that massive block. So I did actually appoint someone to do like a banner for me and get the Etsy page up and running so that I could actually sell them online. And that's great. I've had a couple of people buy them from abroad, which is becoming a problem. I need to look into that further because there's custom tax now because we've gone into Brexit, haven't we? So that's thrown up so many complications. So the majority of my sales are definitely through my sanctuary. And also, I saw a gentleman the other week who can't sleep. He's having real problems sleeping. So the sleep mist, great for helping you to sleep. And and I also sold him one of the breathe as well because he was feeling so stressed and overwhelmed at work. So the two, you can work together. You can use the breathe in the morning and the sleep mist at night. So I'd say that the majority of the sales are through my sanctuary because you can see them and you can smell them. So I think that's the hardest thing that I've come across with selling these products is not being able to sell them and smell them, sorry.
Yes.
Not sell them, smell them. When you're online, you can't smell it, can you? But you can obviously talk about the oils. So I think it's thinking around ways that you can evoke the sense of smell, by saying about the citrus tones and, the deep musky sense of the frankincense, maybe be a bit more creative with my writing. But I think going back to your question, it is definitely through my sanctuary that I sell most of them. And I have my Etsy page, but I've sold a few on there, but not a huge amount.
I think you're right that it is hard to sell any scented product online. I think it's a much easier sale if you're somewhere where people can actually pick them up and smell the bottles and that kind of thing. I guess something you could possibly, I don't know if this is possible, when there's some sort of smell testers or something you can pop in the post. But again, that's another thing to do. So I'm not trying to add to your to-do list for 2022.
That's a great idea. I was talking to someone about that the other day, actually, and I wouldn't know where to start, but I can definitely explore that because it would be, and I think it's a nice idea actually to send to clients if you've got a new blend that's come out that you want people to try, so you can actually send that to your client and say, I've got this new, what do you think? And get their feedback as well. Or if there's something that actually existing clients need, if it's help with whatever it might be in their day that they're feeling that they can't move through that, is there another blend that they could have created? Because they're all hand blended, so if anybody listening to this has got any ideas, it's great to always know what people need.
Yeah, I guess it's also would be a nice way of getting feedback as well if you had something you were looking to develop. And how you sort of create testers, Emma, I don't know, but I do have faith that you would be able to figure it out, and you will be able to figure it out. That's definitely something I'm getting from you, is that you're someone who's going to go and try things and experiment.
Yeah.
I think it's
2 feet in.
No, but I think that's really good. And as I said, I think it can be really easy to hold yourself back unwittingly by sort of wanting to get everything right. But like you say, sort of experience is the best teacher, isn't it? And
it is. And I think if your product's good, at the end of the day, I think if that wasn't that great, if it's a bit weak, a bit wishy-washy, then I don't think people would buy it. But I think because it's so different, and it really does smell. I'm not just saying that, but it really, a lot of them really do just smell amazing. Like they really are. They do what they say on the label. You know, they really do create that sense of clarity for the breathe or the energy shift, and the sleep mist, you know, definitely helps you sleep. That natural sedative is right. The cedarwood, amazing. But again, it's that balance of the scent. So it's just not too overpowering when you go to sleep at night.
And as you're talking, Emma, something else that I think would really help, if you don't mind, sort of me suggesting this, is having reviews from your customers that say, yes, I use this and it helps me sleep, or yes, I use this and it helps me calm down. Because I think that's the other thing when you can't physically smell or try a product. If you can see that X amount of other people have tried it and it works, you feel a bit, I think it kind of encourages you to take that, I don't want to say gamble, but it is a bit of a gamble buying stuff online, especially if, you know, you're not familiar with the product or the seller. I think if you can see a review from sort of all these other people that it's worked for, you're much more likely to think, well, I'll try that, because if it's worked for them, chances are it'll work for me. And I think it then removes some of that sort of fear about, you know, is this right for me, which I think we all have when we're shopping online, and particularly if we're buying something that we're not as familiar with.
Yes, definitely. Because I think people know, you know, the brands like Neom, which, to be honest with you, I'd never heard of when I launched these. That sounds awful, doesn't it? I think I was aware of them a few years ago, but it sort of went out of my mind. And then obviously when I'd done these, I was like, oh, is that a bit too close to what they do? But I think what makes them different is, you know, they've got the lovely quotes on the bottles, and then but you know, they're big brands like the Neal's Yard, they're big brands. So I think it's always nice, isn't it, to support a smaller business?
I think so too. And I think the fact that you are more accessible than a bigger business, because as you said, if someone is listening and they think, oh, I wonder if this is for me, or I've got this problem, they can contact you. They know your name's Emma. They know what you look like. They know how to contact you.
Yes.
Whereas with Neom, if you wanted to give feedback, for example, presumably you go through, I don't know, but I'm assuming you go through some sort of customer support centre, and the person you speak to won't be the person involved in the formulation, or they may, you know, what they know about the product, they may know a lot about the product, but they also may not. Whereas I think, what you're offering is really nice because it's so personalised, and because you know the product, and you know you're accessible and you're happy to talk about it. And I think that's why people would choose to buy from a small business. So I think that whatever we do, we're always going to have competition, but I do genuinely believe there are lots of advantages to being a small business, because you can be so much more flexible and adaptable than someone like Neom, who's producing probably hundreds of thousands, I don't even know, but a lot of products.
Yeah, I think you lose control, don't you, as well, when you get so big. You know, this is why it's quite nice to have something that's quite small, and you can actually provide people with that personal service, but also the product, you know, is of your highest standard. You know, you'd really love to put that onto your skin as well. But I think going back to the reviews, I think they are really important for any business, aren't they, to get that feedback. I think people have left reviews on my Etsy page, but I probably need to be more bold and say, please, could you let me know what you thought of the scent, and if you've used it and it works, because that's what you want, isn't it, really, to know that it's been effective.
And I do think you have to ask as well, because I think reviews are notoriously hard to get. And while there are a small number of people who will, you know, leave a review every time they buy something, there is also a lot of people who don't and won't. And it's not, you know, just for lack of time or just not even considering it. But I think if you ask, you really improve your chances of someone actually doing it, because you've asked personally. I think I think that they are much more likely to in that situation.
That's true. I'll do that.
Wow, good to do. Good. Yeah, you should, Emma. I think your product's fantastic, and you know, you've got a lot of faith in your product. So I think you've got absolutely nothing to lose by asking other people what they think and to share what they think.
Yeah, I think as well there seemed to be this gap in the market where, you know, you didn't have a product that was kind to your skin, that literally was stripped back and had nothing in it. You know, even the organic products, there's alcohol. If you read the small print, there's alcohol in it. Well, that's, you know, some people just cannot have that on their skin, especially if you've got eczema or a skin condition that is incredibly sore and open. you go and put something like that on it, it will just immediately flare it up. So that's why as well I wanted to really be very stripped back and very pure.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely experienced that in the last few years with the pan gels. I can't use the ones with alcohol in, because once you're using them a lot and your hands start cracking, well, it's incredibly painful. So yeah, that you definitely need to talk about all of this, Emma, because there's a lot of care gone into your products.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm being really mindful of time, because I know you have clients to see. So I've got one more question. I promise this is the last one.
Fine.
So what would your number one piece of advice be for Emma, for other product creators?
Jump in and do it. If you feel that you've got that intuitive good idea and that that product is needed, I think that's the key element, is working out whether it's something that you personally like and also that is needed by people. So this was a lovely add-on to my sanctuary. So I finished treatment with a client and I'd spray the lovely protection spray, and just by people's reactions, I knew intuitively that this is definitely the right thing to start doing. But I think we can always put those doubts in. So you just have to go for it. You just have to be bold and start testing it with friends, testing it with family, just getting it out there, really.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And especially if you start small, as you did in your story, Emma, you don't need to invest. You've proven that you don't need to invest a load of money in the beginning. You can just, create a few of something and see how it goes. But yeah, there's nothing like experiences there, as we've come back to a few times, just to find out whether something works.
Yeah, exactly. And, if it doesn't, adapt it, try again. There'll be a reason why it's not working. So your passion and the power of belief behind it will make that product sell as well. I firmly believe in that.
Oh, thank you so much, Emma. And that's such a nice positive note to end on as well.
Well, thanks, Vicky. Thanks for inviting me today. It's been really lovely talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed it, please do leave me a review. That really helps other people to find this podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and do tell your friends about it too if you think that they also might enjoy it. You can find me at vickyweinberg.com. There you'll find link to all of my social channels. You'll find lots more information, all of the past podcast episodes, and lots of free resources too. So again, that's vickyweinberg.com. Take care, have a good week, and see you next time. If you've been inspired to start a podcast in 2024, I really recommend my podcast host, Captivate. Captivate were my top pick when I started podcasting 4 years ago, because of how easy it was for a complete novice like me to get started. I've stuck with them for the last 4 years because Captivate is still really simple to use. They keep adding great new features, like the ability to share ads like these, and they've just been really reliable. So when you're ready to start your own podcast, you can use the link in the show notes and get a free 7-day trial with Captivate.